Hey Cloud Gamers, Hitman Freelancer is here, and just look at the difference here between the RTX 3080 on the left and the 4080 on the right. It's like playing a different game. More on that in just a second, but first of all, huge thank you to GeForce Now and IO Interactive for giving us a key for this one. Let's dive into the settings then. We've completely maxed everything out, and with the addition of DLSS 3 on the 4080, we now have the option to turn on the DLSS frame generation. So when I'm looking at the RTX 3080 and 4080 here, the only difference is that the 4080 has that frame generation enabled. Everything else is completely maxed out. As you can see, for the most part, it does look like the 3080 is still holding 60 plus frames per second. However, that does have a few issues in a little while, which I will come onto. But first of all, this Freelancer mode is extremely fun. If you've not had a look into this yet, it's essentially much shorter missions, taking out syndicate targets in a much more quick fashion. However, you don't seem to have the replayability that you had before unless you complete the entire campaign, so if you don't get those objectives that you can see up in the top left, then you're going to have to save them for another day. As you can see though, even with a lot more going on in the scenery, it looks absolutely gorgeous on the 4080 and is holding higher frames per second, although it does still dip down into those 70s. If I switch back to the 3080, as you can see here, not a lot going on in this scene. However, we are down into the 30 frames per second with everything maxed out. And I think this is some of the ray tracing and lighting effects that's causing it to dip down here somewhat. But it really was a surprise that the 3080 would be down into the 30s here. Hence, we're loving the power of the 4080, that DLSS 3 even more. If we come back to the 4080 again, on the rooftops we do dip into the 60s temporarily, but it is such a smooth and beautiful experience on the 4080. It's just hard to explain. You really do want to dive into this every time. Now, I am connected to the Frankfurt server from the UK, so I did get a couple of glitches on my network connection occasionally. So I really can't wait for this to come out onto the London data center, which should be rolling out any day. As we come inside though on the 4080, look at those frames per second. We're over 200 frames per second pretty much consistently. And the effects and the quality of all of the surroundings and the lighting effects are just absolutely perfect. As challenging as Hitman 3 is in Freelancer mode, I am enjoying it quite a lot more as it is much quicker to do those directives. And having all of these extra challenges does make it much more interesting. Although I haven't managed to hit half of them so far in my 2 or 3 missions playing through. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be diving back into Hitman. Now it's much simpler with the world of assassination. Having it all in one definitely simplifies campaigns, as well as having the new Freelancer mode. I'll leave you with a bit more of the gameplay here without me talking, so you can get a good feel for the 4080's performance here, and we will see you next time.